Hey YouTube. It occurred to me that perhaps before doing a bunch of videos, I should introduce myself and explain my philosophy on prepping. So I'm going to voice over this and I give you guys something interesting to watch. I'm Life Prepper. I'm a wife, a mother to three boys, and as you can see, I live in a semi-urban environment in New England. Um, it's very close to a big city, but it's not suburban. Long ago, this was the place to be, but since it's an island, the big city popped up just north of here on the mainland, and this island became a vacation destination. So let's just say it's on the cusp of urban sprawl. I don't want to be here. I mean, don't get me wrong, the weather is absolutely gorgeous. I love the weather, but the taxes are too high, the population density is too high, and the nanny state mentality is overwhelming. I want more space so we can be more self sufficient, and we're trying to leave. The economy's kind of putting a buffer on that. We're actually renting here, and this brings up its own set of challenges when prepping. We chose our rental house very carefully, and that in itself has already saved our butts a few times when weather took out the power. Which brings me to prepping. Why prep? Because life happens. Outsiders looking into the prepping community will read all about the big bads that could happen: economic collapse, an EMP, a CME, a pandemic, your camera falling over. I fix that in just a second. All sorts of big things, and they'll shake their heads and scoff. They hear the phrase, the end of the world as we know it, and they only focus on the end of the world part. But they ignore the next few words, as we know it. Think about that. What would change your world as you know it? We assume that when we get up in the morning, the power will be on, the roads will be clear so we can drive to work, we'll be healthy and able to perform our jobs, everything will go as usual, we'll drive home after work, fix dinner, do our nightly routine, and go to bed. We assume that's how it's going to be. And you know what they say about assume. Changing your world as you know it could be as simple as slipping off a ladder and breaking your right leg. Now, suddenly, you're no longer healthy. You've got a huge, heavy cast on your right leg and months of physical therapy in front of you. You can't work. You can't even drive to work. Your paycheck stops coming because you can't work. And you've got to make do without until the insurance check comes in, which could take weeks or even months if they're fighting it. Simple things like getting in and out of bed become frustrating, time eating obstacles. Never mind chores like mowing the yard. It's just not going to get done. Have you ever tried standing and cooking dinner for your family with a broken leg? Your world, as you know it, has changed. So, what if you lose your job? What if your adult child lost his or her job and had to move their family back in with you? What if an elderly loved one could no longer care for themselves and they moved back in with you? These are all things that would change life as you know it. Your daily routine would change. Your budget would change. Things that you could do without thinking about them now become this huge ordeal if you're able to do them at all. Some of these situations are temporary, like breaking your leg or losing your job, but you've still got to survive for that temporary length of time. It could take 6 months. It could take a year. Could you still pay your utility bills, pay your mortgage, make your car payment, and buy all of your groceries for that length of time? A lot of people can't, and they end up on the street. Life has these ups and downs. Life happens. Now, could we see the sun pop off a Carrington level CME in our lifetimes, knocking out the power grid and frying everything electronic? Sure. But what's even more likely than that is that you'll lose your job and you'll need to try to function normally with very little to no money coming in for months. Just try finding a new job in this economy. Even more likely than losing your job is that Mother Nature will come calling and she'll pack a wallop to your town or your city, leaving you without power for days. If that happens, can you still cook? Can you still heat your home? Is there even enough food in your house to live comfortably until the roads are cleared or repaired and the power comes back on? For most people, the answer to these questions is no. Every year, every single year, the East Coast gets hit with hurricanes. It's absolutely normal. But do people prepare for them and the aftermath? No. Do people have things in a bug out bag or an evac bag so they can quickly leave if an evacuation order is given? No. Do they even keep their gas tanks full during hurricane season? Nope. Every year, winter storms blanket the north part of the country and knock out power for anywhere from a day to a week or more. This is normal. Do people prepare for this? Do they have a little extra food put back, some water stored up, an alternate way to cook, an alternate way to heat their homes? No, no, and no. In the central part of the country, you've got tornadoes every year. In the west, you've got wildfires. This is normal. This is absolutely an annual thing that you can count on happening, and yet no one prepares for it. People say preppers are crazy. No, not preparing for natural, normal, reoccurring events is what's crazy. The people running to the store as the hurricane is bending the trees horizontal to get water and milk and flashlight batteries, they're crazy. The people calling into a local radio show and demanding the city come plow the snow off of their road and fix their power lines immediately because they can't cook their food are crazy. And this really happened on my local radio show when Snowstorm Nemo came through a couple months ago. Running out of food in the house the day before you get paid is crazy. Not having anything in the house to give your children to drink when the police decide to lock down the city and having to have a police officer bring your children milk is crazy. I'm sure you've all seen that picture. And by the way, preppers themselves are pushing this idea that prepping is insurance. You've seen and heard the commercials for food insurance. Lots of prepper blogs and videos talk about prepping being like having car insurance or fire insurance. It's not insurance. It's nothing like insurance. Insurance is throwing money at a company in the case that one day something happens to your car or to your house. That company will give you some of that money back to fix whatever's broken. And if nothing ever breaks, your money's gone. It's just gone. You don't have anything tangible in your hand to show for the money that you spent. You can't get that money back. It's just a black hole that you toss your money into. It doesn't even earn interest. And this is not what prepping is. Prepping is not insurance. It's an investment. A physical, tangible investment in your future. If nothing ever happens, great. I've still got food for my family to eat, and that food was cheaper when I bought it than it costs to buy that same food today. That's a good investment. If the power never goes out, I can still use my solar oven to cook something. My youngest child can use it to cook safely without fire. That means I use no electricity or no gas to cook, and that saves on our utility bill. That's an investment. If I buy a pressure canner to can food, and nothing ever happens, I'm still able to use it to buy food that's on sale and preserve it so it'll be good for years rather than just a few months in the freezer. That pressure canner will outlast me, and I can hand it down to my kids and they can hand it down to their kids. That's an investment. If I buy a mega box of Band-Aids, it's not going to go to waste. I've got kids, and I've got a hubby that uses power tools. We're eventually going to use those Band-Aids up. It's going to cost me less to buy a big box of Band-Aids now than it will cost me to buy that same box 6 months from now. That's an investment. And if I one day buy 10 acres of land with a nice stream and room to garden and put up some fruit trees, nut trees, berry bushes. That's not going to go to waste. Even if nothing big ever happens, that land is going to give me food for years to come, and managed properly could even completely sustain my hubby and I when he retires. That's not crazy. It's not insurance. I know that one day he's going to retire, and our income will drop significantly while the price of food will keep going up. Buying that land and populating it with food producing plants and trees is an investment. Now, I might get some comments from other preppers who want to convince me that there are multiple dangers out there, lots of big bads that could happen at the drop of a hat, like a pandemic. And I agree. Our country and the world itself is teetering on the edge of so many big bads that all it would take is one little domino falling into place or one stroke of bad luck, and we would be facing total chaos. It's possible. But here's the thing: if you prep for the more likely scenarios, say life, then you're also prepping for those big bads at the same time. It does not have to be one or the other. So, the next time some well meaning family member chides you on your prepping or tries to make you state a concrete reason for prepping so that they can then attempt to completely discount the idea of that one thing ever happening, just sidestep them. Tell them you're prepping because life happens. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you again soon. This has been Life Prepper. Come visit me on Facebook, facebook.com/lifepreppers. Thanks a lot.